Hey guys, I have a really cool guest today. Old friend of mine, actually, someone I've known for over a decade, Jeff Fenster, and we're honored to have him at the Do Good Pod. So, Jeff, would you love to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. As Dhaval said, had the privilege to meet you over a decade ago. Dang, it's been that long. We are old. I don't like the way that sounds, but you're one of the good and best people I know who are always doing good. So this podcast title couldn't be more apropos. And when I heard you were launching it and then you asked me to be on, it was an honor and privilege. And I'm just grateful for this chance to come on and share the time with you. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, Jeff is a super modest guy. We actually started off our careers, I think, on the same path. I dropped out of law school. He actually graduated. And then we both got into marketing. And one of my childhood friends, Neil, who a lot of you know, he's been a guest on this podcast, introduced me to Jeff. We met once. He took a big chance on me and offered me the opportunity to work with some really big clients. And forever grateful to Jeff. His journey took him to such great heights. And yeah, let's talk about what you do now. I think a lot of people will be interested.
Yeah. I have a craft superfood chain around the country that I started called Everbull. We have just about 100 units and another 400 coming. Acai bowls, smoothies, better for you products. Construction fabrication company called We Build Global, where we not only build Everbowls, but we build a lot of the big brands you see all around the country, high growth, high scale, physical locations from EOS Fitnesses to restaurants, Wingstop, Capriati's, Big Chicken with Shack, stretch zones, salons, you name it. And I have a company called Unevolved Products where we import and a bunch of superfoods from around the world and then manufacture it into consumer products as well as for our restaurants. I have the Jeff Fenster Show, which is a podcast about success formula, which you're gonna have to come down and be on. It was with Entrepreneur, and and then I do a lot of speaking, and I have a book, and I'm a dad of two beautiful daughters, and that's who I am.
Yeah, it's really funny. I met Jeff at a really pivotal time in my life. I just moved back from Seattle. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I started my agency, and he gave me a head start by offering me the opportunity to work with some of his large clients. Fast forward many years, and we've been amongst the same circles. I think Neil's a common thread there with a lot of that, but Jeff's really just evolved beyond just evolving Everbull and the human experience in terms of eating. He's evolved into what I would say is someone I admire and someone who I have always looked up to in business. He works with big brands. He works with a lot of athletes. And a common thread we also had was huge Laker fans. So I used to have season tickets, and I would give him tickets. And now, I think more recently he randomly hit me up and gave me tickets to go see a game with my dad. And I really valued that. And I think I get to see Jeff from a unique perspective. A lot of people see him on the podcast and he's a big deal, right? And Jeff probably won't admit that, but he's a big deal and he knows some great people. But I've known his journey, and one of the goals of the Do Good Pod is to help people understand, especially in this climate that we're in right now, economically, politically, what have you, that it was tough for us, but we had different opportunities. Right now, there's a different set of circumstances that Gen Z and young people are facing. And I think it's hard to overcome. And maybe, Jeff, you could speak to that, like your journey, how you've had setbacks, and how you became who you are now, and advice for young people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a complete 180 shift, I think, from our generation to the generation today and what happened in the middle, because we grew up pre-internet and today in this post-internet world, our challenge early on for us coming into the world as adults was lack of information and lack of accessibility. I didn't have the ability to go to a computer and see who is the blank at this company and where do they reside and what city are they in and what do they do, and go on social media to learn their likes or dislikes and get to know brands. I had to open up a yellow pages and find a number and see who I know who might know somebody and then call them and have never seen their face before because there wasn't Facebook and there wasn't these things. So the challenge for us was the world was very big, and our ability to penetrate that was very tough based on wherever you were. You had when I was a kid and I was 12 years old, if my sister played a joke on me and said, Hawaii is next to Australia, if I didn't know because I learned in school and my mom and dad couldn't correct me and the Encyclopedia Britannica collection I may or may not have didn't have the information, my source of truth was that, and that was it. And so we were totally stuck to our who we knew that could penetrate other worlds, when we call worlds meaning other cities and stuff. And then in today's world there is unlimited information, unlimited accessibility, and so it's how do you stand out and get someone's attention when everybody has their attention and everybody knows the same stuff? And so now it's the other side. The world is so small. And so it's overloaded and crowded, and people may be a little more jaded or reserved. Where before I could send a postcard to a professional athlete and ask them to sign something for me as a kid, and they would send it to me because I found their address, which no one else had. Today, they don't want to do that because everybody has their address asking. So the challenge is switched. It became you had to figure out how to break and find a way, to today you have to figure out a way to stand out. And I think that is the big the big massive change between the problems and challenges of today's young adults and Gen Zs and millennials or younger millennials, and what we, our generation and older dealt with, early on. And, big problem, different problem, but you still have to find a way through, and there's always a way through. And I think that's part of my success going through it young was I never got caught up in the problem. I think we spend too much time in the problem and not enough time using, a different idea and a different approach to do something, because we want to do naturally. I think it's just what people are in our comfort zone is, we want to do what others are doing because it makes us feel comfortable. Kids in school wear all the same, all my friends are wearing Nikes, I'm wearing Nikes. And all my friends are wearing this, I'm wearing this, because it makes us comfortable. Like I'm not standing out and different. And I know that that's the cool thing to do or the right thing to do. Get a good job, work 40 years, put money away, retire was like the cool thing to do and what you were supposed to do to be comfortable and safe and conservative when we were growing up. Then the penetration into this entrepreneurial world, well, okay, now that's a sexy thing and a lot of people are doing it. And so there's a lot less stability in that, and there's a lot less predictability in that. And so more of it falls on you, the individual. And so if you don't have the plan, if you don't have a good understanding of how you're going to navigate what's in front of you, you're jumping out of an airplane maybe without a parachute. And so I challenge and really implore all those who are doing it. And what I speak on a ton is make sure you have a formula that's going to work. And if you don't, find people who do and understand, take it and apply it to yourself. Because if you're going in with no plan except I'm going to work 110% and do everything I can, that's cute. I appreciate it. That's 5% of what you need to do. Someone like me could beat you when you have 99% more aptitude, skill, and capability than I do. And it's not because I'm better than you, it's because I had information you didn't, and it was the right information in the plan. So you need to realize that time is so important. And in today's world of unlimited information, how do you navigate that and find the right answer? And so that would be how I kind of view the difference between today and for us.
Yeah. And it's crazy. We were both operating our marketing agencies, and all of a sudden this is like back in the day, Instagram, where like it felt more personal, but like you were traveling to Brazil and discovering acai, for lack of better words, factories or like the actual products. And I was like, what's this guy doing? What made you shift? Because you were doing really well as a marketing agency. Yeah.
Well,
why the shift? What made you shift? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, after law school and a brief stint as a sports agent, and then I started a payroll and HR company, right? And I got the privilege of selling that before I met you and Neil. I did the marketing thing, and I'll never forget. It was 2014-ish, and I'm with Neil and we're hanging out, and Instagram was becoming a serious thing. We were getting a little bit older. We were in our 30s at that point, and we were seeing these young kids that were marketing whizzes. And as important as what you do, timing is so important, because I could have tried to create Amazon in 1985 and it would have failed, and I could try to create Amazon today and it would fail. Jeff Bezos did it at the right time. Mark Zuckerberg did it at the right time. Mark Zuckerberg couldn't replace Facebook today. He'd have to do something different. So timing is just as important a metric of when you start a company and how you are successful. A lot of times people come in too late because there's already market saturation. They've already seen it evolve, and then you're starting a Me Too business in a very crowded field. Or some people start it too early because they see that it's going to happen, but we're not ready. Bitcoin in 2013 was a great long-term risk play, and today it looks like it would have been a great thing to buy and hold. In 2013, you didn't do it because what is this risky little thing that no one knows about? In 50 years, Bitcoin might not be the best thing to do because it's like everything else, like buying Disney stock today versus 1980. So timing is so critical. And, as a thing with marketing, we were getting to the point where, my gift, my contribution with Neil in the marketing space was not my marketing aptitude to deliver world-class SEO and CRO and PPC and all the fun, three-letter acronyms that we all throw around and have fun with. My value was my relationships and the fact that I had a lot of legacy businesses that I was very tight with from my past that had yet to fully adopt the digital marketing wave and didn't have the resources in-house or the people with the knowledge on what to do. So digital marketing could have a material and important impact on their bottom line and their revenue. And we were able to migrate from catalogs and offline revenue to online revenue in a systematic, predictable way where they could understand profitability and deploy capital differently. And they didn't have the internal team. So me coming in and being able to leverage Neil's brand and global brand and who he was with the expertise, my relationship with the brand, it was a seamless walk-in for us to go in and say, use us, we're going to help you. And we were able to very easily. It was an easy lift. Neil would have been able to do it if it was a hard lift, but it was an easy pitch. 2011, 2012, 2013. Well, we were getting to the age in 2014, 2015. Most brands started to now have a social media team. They started to have a paid spend team. They were already understanding these acronyms. They've already migrated to the online space. So now you had to be really good. You had to be very competitive. It wasn't low-hanging fruit and picking apples up off the ground. You had to actually get on a ladder and reach for the damn thing. It was less. My relationships we'd already started to leverage, and the ones that I hadn't yet were now already there. So it wasn't as much of a, I hate to use this word because it sounds so like I'm trivializing what we did, and that's just couldn't be further from the truth. But it was shooting fish in a barrel at the beginning phase because of the timing. The timing started to get worse, and it was like, I don't know I want to do this anymore. What else do I want to do?
Yeah.
When those contracts ended and we were able to sell off some of the clients, and Neil spun off and did Neil Patel Digital, and I spun off and first tried a little bit of retirement before launching Everbull. It was just because I'm a serial entrepreneur at my heart. I like to start new businesses in new arenas with limited experience. I like the learning curve. I saw an opportunity again because it's about timing where I loved acai and superfoods. The smoothie and the juice craze had happened over the last 25 years. Acai bowls were still not very well known. It was not a behavior people were eating, but the bowl space was. Chipotle was blowing up. And this whole concept of assembly line eating a bowl for lunch was becoming massive. Everybody I'd ever made an acai bowl for in my house loved it. And everyone loves Hawaii. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start an acai bowl shop. Worst case, it doesn't work. But I can always sell a smoothie. So to me, I saw an opportunity for a product I knew was delicious. I loved. I don't know anything about restaurants. But again, timing for starting a new company is so critical because for me to start Everbull today, guess what? I couldn't do it like I did. I just couldn't. So was I lucky on my timing? Yes, but luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Are you prepared not to only execute on the opportunity, but to recognize that opportunity? And that requires the constant awareness of that. And so, pivoting to that into now construction and the speaking and all that, it's a natural evolution for me in my career of I love to penetrate and start companies when I see an opportunity. And, my payroll and HR company I sold, I started in payroll in 2007 after law school in sports agency. And it was filing cabinets with handwritten applications and all of that. And then all of a sudden a smartphone was built with this whole app thing. And so in my payroll business, we recognized that. And so we built one of the world's first HRIS app-driven platforms. Technology. I know nothing about tech, but it was the realization that people are using their phones for this stuff. The internet is now beyond email, and it's starting to be a way to communicate and live and operate on. Human resources is so archaic that it needs to be digitized. So let's digitize it. Opportunity. That was kind of why I jumped. I just like that phase, and that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever told you this. I didn't know many pieces of that story. Like, one thing you probably don't know about me is one of my first jobs was working at Juice It Up. My uncle owned the Juice It Up trailer and store at the Student Union at Cal State Fullerton. And I worked as a cashier. And we had acai. That was like the advent of acai. And I remember everybody ordered acai. One thing he didn't have, and this goes back to your point on timing, is marketing, right? 2005, 2006. There is no social media. There's no way to spread the word beyond television and direct mail, right? And we're just at a campus.
That's a word, because it's also when I'm sitting in a restaurant and I see a word I don't know, I can look at it on Google. I couldn't do that in 2005. So what is ACI? Give me a strawberry banana smoothie. Give me a juice.
Yeah, protein. I know protein. So people would be like, what's in that? Is there caffeine in it? Like they were scared of acai, right? And then, many years later, I'm like, it's full of antioxidants. I mean, I love acai. When you started your acai company, I was Everbull. I was like, oh my God, he's capitalized on this thing that I love, which was really I really like that. I like that for you, and I love that for the industry. I don't think there was an acai place that I could go to and feel like it was kind of like my own or someone Like it wasn't personal, right? And I think you've
No, it wasn't
created that.
pre-Trump. We were one of the first. Like I didn't invent acai. There were companies like Juice It Up and Rush Bowls that had been doing it for years, and I'd seen it. But what they were doing was it was a static item on a menu. We took
Hmm.
the Chipotle, and I stole it from Chipotle and Subway of the assembly line, craft your own, be part of the process, build your bowl as you go model, and applied it to this bowl, this product.
Yeah.
That was my only innovation was that. And it wasn't my
And that was the
innovation. I
biggest
stole it from
innovation. That
others.
was the singular thing you focused on, and that's why you're who
And I
you
stole
are.
it. By the way, and I stole it. So I didn't innovate it. I just duplicated it.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I think another element that gets often overlooked is you are masterful at relationship capital. And I say that in the most positive light because I know immaculate networkers and people who are relationship builders. But I've reached back years later, and it goes back to like the Adam Grant give take philosophy. There's people who give and take, and I've always seen you as a giver. You reach out to me periodically with tickets to games, which I love. Thank you so much. Or just to check in, right? And I do the same. And I don't know, I don't count, but you remember things. I know people that I've helped or that, I've seen just be vapid and like, walk around and be networkers who won't even think twice to help you when it comes to their chance. Not that they have to, but like you can see it's very transactional. I've seen you reach out to people and maintain relationships over the years better than anybody I've ever seen do it, right? And I think that authenticity is what's missing now, right? And what probably drove me away from traditional marketing and being part of this whole machine, right? And just doing what I do now, which is helping companies and working very mindfully with wellness brands, not just anybody, right?
All right.
I got burnt out, and I think maybe you can speak to that. Like what guides that philosophy, and what are your thoughts regarding like how one should network?
Yeah.
Bad phrase. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and I think it starts with the word network. I don't network and I make friends. And my two, one of my keynotes is on my success formula. My first rule in life and business is make friends and have fun. And what I mean by that, I seriously mean it. I make friends. And when you do that, it's a different relationship. I'm not networking, I'm making friends. So whether it's, you know, us, whether it's Neil, whether it's the cashier at the grocery store, or whether it's, Shaquille O'Neal, I'm not here to ask you to help me. I'm not here because, oh my gosh, I want this from this person. My true core belief is I want to be friends with good people. And if I find out you're not a good person, I don't care who you are, I'm done. Simple. I only do life and business with people I like. It's too short. And as a result of that, I approach it like a friendship, which is a very different approach. I don't go to networking meetings. I don't go to networking rooms because I'm not here to network. I don't want to network. No, thank you. I want to build relationships. And the spirit of that is 85 to 90% of all my wealth and success is not a matter of who I know. What I know, it's who I know. And when you realize that, you start to say, well, Jeff, isn't that very usury? Like, aren't you just using your relationships? Yes, but I give and try to give more value to them than I ever take. And my book, Relationship Bank Account, was meant to showcase it like a bank account, like your savings account. Yes, I spend money. Yes, I use my relationship capital, but I hope to make more deposits and contributions to it so I build wealth. And when you have wealth of relationships, I'm able to do things that others can't, and it may feel unfair and it may feel cheating. And today you see it in a different light because it's been, 30 years plus of dedicated focus on it, but it's changed my life. And I'll give you an easy example. When I was 25 years old, I'd been my payroll and HR company. I'd been doing my first company for maybe 13, 14 months and struggling, like all first time and all new businesses. And I was fiance and a daughter and not making any money and like, oh no, this is hard. Like I got the low hanging fruit, but this is tough. Like I got to figure this out. And every day once a week, I'd go to the grocery store in my little community and I'd buy groceries like we all do. Well, most people ignore all the people who are there as employees, and I don't get it. So I make small talk with people. And so the same checkout clerks I would see regularly because they work there and this is my community. So it's like, oh, there's only 3-4 faces you ever see. And one of the women that was working there, I knew she had dogs and she'd go to Dog Beach. She knew I had a daughter and a little business and she'd ask about my daughter. I'd ask about her dogs. And one day out of the blue, she said, hey, Jeff, you have a payroll company-ish, right? I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. She goes, my brother's having a payroll problem. He was venting about it last night. Do you mind if I give him your number? And can I have your number? And I was like, of course. Now, when she said that, in my brain, this is like a favor to an acquaintance or stranger. It'll take me time. I'm getting nothing from it. But, okay, yes, I say yes. Reconnect, he is having a payroll problem. It's a little bit bigger than she let on. We helped him. He moved his business over. I was doing about, call it 190 to 200,000 in revenue annualized at that time, and his account was 250,000 in revenue a year, and it was a 1,000 employee sized company. So I'm screwing around with 10 person, 12 person, 15 person companies, and I can't get the bigger ones because I don't have any to show that I can do it. And so there's this whole 50 to 999 space that I can't penetrate, which would change my whole business. And I'm looking for that opportunity. And had I called him to sell him on me, I would have gotten nowhere. But his sister introduced me to do a favor, and I said yes. And that's how I doubled my revenue and started to now be able to go to 300, 400, 100 companies and leverage one that is 10 times bigger and say, don't worry, we work with them. And now instantly my company has validation. I have proof of concept. I doubled my revenue from the checkout clerk at Albertsons because I made friends. And it's, well, that's just lucky, Jeff. It is. Luck is when preparation recognizes opportunity. How many times a day do you run into repeatable acquaintances and strangers that you don't build relationships with? Everybody is someone's brother, sister, aunt, cousin. I promise you, you call me blind, I may or may not answer. If Neil or Dhaval say, hey, would you mind talking to a friend of mine? I absolutely am going to say yes. So vice versa. You call Neil or Dhaval, they may not answer. If I call either of you and say, hey, I have a friend or I have somebody, would you mind having a call with them? What's your answer going to be?
Of course.
Yes. So everybody is someone's brother, sister, aunt, cousin, friend. So if the gatekeeper to the opportunities you want, you can't figure out how to get to, then make friends with everybody because everybody knows somebody who can help you. And if everybody likes you and you help as many people as you can, then you have people going around the world being your champion. You pay them nothing. You're not networking. It's just happening. And today, my friends joke, it's all Fenster luck. You know, people just fall in your lap. Well, because I do this every day. So now my army of friends is much larger after 30 years to where, yeah, I get a phone call and it's, hey, Damon John wants to come to your office and there's something, you know, I've never met him yet. He wants to meet me because of somebody else who mentioned me or someone else. And so he comes to my office. Now we're doing business together. That's lucky that happened. Sure. But I only got the luck because I've been saying yes and doing and investing in people. And it's just the way I've always done it. I want to help people. And look, it's not a transaction. I don't care if what's in it for me. And I get, well, Jeff, you know, you do that and people just take advantage of you. So what? Well, let me ask you this. How many times do you have to get rich in life?
Once or zero.
So, well,
what is rich?
But I'm saying,
right?
but in business, right? In the business context, right? Because this is normally a business question. Once. So if I told you 150, the next 150 people over the next 2 years are going to take advantage of you, but the 151st is going to make you rich and change your life. Would you sign up for it?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So who cares how many people? It's just those people are going to be transactional. Okay. And then you cut them out because they're not the people you want to do life with. That's fine. But when you realize that it doesn't matter because I'm still doing what I need to do for me. And so take advantage of me. And look, people take advantage of me all the time. It's okay. I'm okay with it because that is a dedicated, focused effort of lead with value. What can I do to help? How can I help? And the takers and the people who constantly say, help me, can you? I do it until I don't want to do it anymore. But I do it a lot and I don't ask. And I try not to make withdrawals. I try not to take and ask my friends for things unless I really need it. So if I really need something, I'm going to say, hey, Neil, can you? Hey, Shaq, can you? Right? Because it is important to me, but I very rarely do it. So when I do it, they all say yes, because I have more deposits than withdrawals. And so I'm not a taker and asker. And that's the kind of stuff that happens. I mean, even this morning at 4 a.m., I get a text from Gary Vee. He's asking me to help him with something else. He's one of my partners. And if I show you the text thread, it's like, yeah. And he's like, how can I help you? I just want to check in. Like, do you need anything from me? And I'm like, no, I'm okay. And he's like, well, use me, man. Like, let me help you. Because he's the same kind of way. Like, he feels bad that he asked me for something. He wants to give. And I'm always resistant until I need it because I don't want to. And that's the secret of relationship capital and how, as a business owner and someone navigating the world, networking is not the right way. David Meltzer, who has been a lifelong friend of mine and a mentor of mine growing up, and we grew up together, when I started my payroll company, or I got my first job actually at ADP and I needed to do payroll, everyone else was smiling and dialing and cold calling. And I called Dave and said, hey, Dave, I've interned for 6 of your companies. We've known each other our whole lives. I have a favor. You're 10 years older than me. You know business owners who could use ADP payroll. I don't know enough people. I have a quota. Do you mind if I come over and would you help me? And he said, of course. He sent an email to hundreds of his friends, blind copied or sent it and CC'd me. They all responded. or some portion of it. And I became the number one sales rep in ADP in 6 months, President's Club, first, etc., which gave me the confidence to start my payroll company because of David Meltzer. And everyone goes, well, that's just luck. Again, I said yes to helping in my whole life. So you can create your luck or you can complain that you don't have it, but luck hits us all the same. Everybody, all of my competitors went through the same grocery store and could have met the same checkout clerk and could have had that same opportunity, but did not make friends with her because they didn't perceive she had value to them. They didn't see how she helps them professionally, personally, because she's not famous. She's a checkout clerk at Albertsons. That's stupid. You can learn as much from the checkout clerk as you can from Bill Gates. We're all people. We all can learn from each other. No one is better than anyone based on material wealth or position or job. And when you prioritize the fact of humans, you get so much abundance and so much opportunity, and it becomes easy.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Dave Meltzer. I actually worked on a short-term SEO contract with him during COVID. Great guy, great team. And he needed someone to run his podcast. And Rob, who was working for me for my agency then, was really struggling. He worked at an Amazon factory. He's a great writer, but he needed something more sustainable. Dave's team reached out to me and said, I need someone to manage our podcast. I was like, Rob's great. And Rob is great with audio visual. Flash forward 3 years, I checked in with Rob. I'm like, for a personal project, hey, can you write some articles for me? Yeah, by the way, I'm still working with Dave. Thank you so much. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I didn't even think and put two and two together, but he's like, I haven't had constant work, but Dave's been the one constant, and I'm still doing his podcast, like editing and all that. And I was like, great. So a lot of the things we do to help people, we don't even think about. It just happens, right? Yes. And a lot of the times people help us, they don't even think twice, right? So I don't know. I've always seen you to be like-minded in that sense, and I've admired that, right? Because the world can be a tough place and very transactional, but the few people who help, my dad always said, if you help someone, they'll always remember, and you're not doing it for that reason. You're just doing it to help. It makes you feel good. It makes them feel good. It's a win-win, right?
I mean, well, and people then have, good people tend to have a feeling of indebtedness. Oh my God, he or she did this for me. I'm so grateful. How can I help you? And it's a good place to be on the receiving end of that. That means you have relationship wealth. That means that if you call Gary, for example, and say, what do you think of Jeff? He's going to speak praises about me because I help him and don't ask for anything. So the easy thing to do is to say, he's a really good guy. You should check him out. His company's good. I love him. He's one of us. If I took more than I did, he'd be like, yeah, he's okay. Or he wouldn't answer my phone call. I'd call him right now. He'll answer because I don't ask much. I'm help. You say, well, that's a lot of time. It is. But again, one person can make immense difference in your business. So I would rather focus my time on building quality relationships of people who go around the world saying good things about my companies, thinking about me, or hearing about an opportunity and naturally just connecting it to me because they're like, oh, someone's looking for a franchise and I'm looking for something in the health space. Oh, you should talk to Jeff at Everbull. Now, this is not a sales rep. I don't pay them any money. I didn't ask them to do this. But because they like me and they know my brand and I've tried to help them as much as I can, they'll naturally put me in positions to receive because I've done good. And when you have an army of people out in the world, I tell this to my daughter all the time. I'm like, there's 8 billion people on the planet. You maybe know 150 people as an acquaintance, and you maybe know 30 at a really, or 50 at an intimate level, and you may know 20 at like a real personal level. Out of 8 billion, every new person you can add to any of those categories, you absolutely should. You're alone. It's a very small pocket of people who may really care about you. And I mean care, not know your name. And, I don't pick The Rock. Are you going to stand in front of a truck for The Rock? No, you don't know The Rock.
He's a rock. He can handle himself.
Yeah, he can handle it. But I might admire him or I might think he's cool because he's famous. But he doesn't have those relationships either. And that's the thing about celebrities that people always ask, well, how do you have so many celebrities? They don't have a lot of quality relationships because everybody wants something from them.
Yep.
Everybody is a taker. Take. And so sometimes they just want a friend. Sometimes they just want someone to treat them like a person. Right? And when you do, and you hold yourself to the standard of excellence, because that's the other part with athletes that I get asked of, like, how do you get these athletes to work with your brands? Drew Brees is our largest franchisee, and Jason Tatum is an investor and franchisee, and Kamaru. And they always say, hey, how? And I'm like, well, you got to remember, these are the athletes at the highest level, which means they hold themselves to a standard of excellence and remarkability and all-star Hall of Fame. Are you holding yourself in your company to that standard? Yes or no? If the answer is no, they're going to recognize it right away. If the answer is yes, then you're in the playing field. Now you have an opportunity to say, hey, I'm an all-star too in business. You're an all-star on your career path. Put your name, image, likeness together with what we're doing and let's make some money and make this happen. You're in a position to speak business to business. A lot of brands just aren't. A lot of people aren't. A lot of leaders aren't, because you have to take an inventory of what decisions and how you're holding yourself accountable to a specific standard. And, one of the reasons that Neil and he allowed me to do and use his brand and his name, because we just met. I had him on my show, and it's a funny story, but
I think I was there when I went with him to your show.
yeah.
Beautiful.
So you remember,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I brought it up, and it was like, I tried to give him a check and he wouldn't take it, and it was weird. And it was like, but then he met my circle and he realized, oh my gosh, anyone I ask about him, there's a constant response. Hard worker, dedicated, does what he says he's going to do, and proven success. Well, I'll bet my brand on someone like that, right? I bet it on you. Like when you said I gave you the chances because I had met you and you seemed like a great guy. Neil vouched for you, which is incredible, that someone who is putting his name on the line for you, because if you weren't what was suggested or promised, it'll look bad on you, but it'll also look bad on my thoughts on Neil, right? Like what happened? You're like, you told me he was going to be, so he's risking his reputation for you. That's a big reputation to risk on anybody, let alone someone that me and you had never really known each other, right? So and he didn't know me that well, right? And so at the time, and so it was like, okay, so you got instant validation, and I'm ready to go, and I want to help you because you're a friend of Neil's. So I want to do good for Neil and you. And now look at the friendship me and you've created because of that relationship capital. And the fact that we still do stuff together is because you are every bit the person that Neil told me you were, and more, right? You are exactly those things. You hold yourself to this high standard. You do what you say. You're a man of character. You're a giver. You're a do-good, and amazing. So why wouldn't I want to expand our relationship and friendship? And why wouldn't I want to help every way I can to watch you shine? Because you're one of the characters in the movie of the group of people I actually know and care about. So I get a front row seat or a second seat or a third seat to your story. That's cool. So I think it's just very important. I think it's overlooked by too many. I think I don't have time for that. And they think about it in a networking side. And if you do that, you're just standing in a crowded room screaming, pick me, pick me, pick me. And it's not going to work. And you're going to say, but I'm an introvert. Like I don't go to a party and all of a sudden I'm the coolest guy in the room. Like I don't go to bar. Like, that's just not who I am. I build relationships one-on-one. And that's where real stuff happens. That's why today I can enter an industry with zero experience, pick up the phone and land contracts and opportunities that people who've been in it for 20 years can't, but they've been in it for 20 years. They don't have the relationship. That's where it all starts and goes. And it's just very important.
Yeah. I think we're almost at time.
I ramble. Sorry.
No, I loved it. This is probably one of the best, and I've had some great guests, and I'm excited to share this with the community. I think you already answered the question I usually ask, which is how can young people replicate what you've done, or at least in the same spirit? And I think yep. your answer to that was,
I'm gonna give them a concise answer because I don't want to end without them having it. Because motivation is a waste of time. When you master the skill of doing it on the days you don't want to, you will be in the position to be successful. That's the number one difference between those who win and those who don't. Those who win do it on the days where they absolutely don't want to, period. End of discussion. The want to is not a requirement to accomplish anything. Those who have so much potential and skill but don't see results because they only do it on the days where they feel like it, want to, or it works. Here's a simple, my success formula, 5 bullets. Follow these 5, apply it to anything, and you will be in a position to win. Number 1, make friends and have fun. Number 2, take immediate decisive action. Number 3, Kaizen. I don't care how bad you are at it or how good you are, get 1% better every single day and keep working to improve. Number 4, be remarkable. What does that mean? Did you give 100% of your best effort into the thing you are doing? Am I here with you, or am I thinking about what I'm doing later today and something else and some stuff I have to do after this? Or am I pouring 100% of my best effort, no matter how good or bad it is, into this show with you? And number 5, be change ready. I don't care what you're used to doing. I don't care if this is the way it's always been done. When the world says it's time to do something different, you change. And you're like, well, change is scary. AI, what do? Watch this. Make friends and have fun. Who do you know who can help you in the AI space? Take immediate decisive action to start learning and applying it to your business. Kaizen your way there to get 1% better and more knowledgeable every day. Put 100% of your best effort into it and be ready to change the next thing when it's time. You do that, and it's a matter of when, not if, you become successful at whatever it is you're doing, health, relationships, business, etc. It's worked. It works again and again. So an ordinary guy like me can get extraordinary results. I have no special gift or skill, so anything I'm doing can be duplicated by every single person on the show.
That was great. Thanks for being here today, Jeff. It means a lot to me. And I know we don't talk as much as we'd like because we're both busy, but I know that if I call you, you call me, we'd be there roadside helping each other out. So that means a lot to me.
Me as well. And I really, again, I appreciate the honor to come on your show. I'm glad you're doing this show. I think you have a message and a voice that needs to be heard by more, and your ability to bring on good people to keep this conversation going and empower the youth and others to win and succeed is so vital. And so thank you for the contribution to society and what you're doing, and anything I can do to help, I'm here to do.
Thanks, Jeff. That's
Thank you.
Jeff Fenster, founder of Everbull, great guy and Laker fan. So,
Go Lakers.
yeah, thanks, Jeff. And